All right. So, live on Pantheon Radio once again, guys. Thank you all for hanging out with me. Thank you all for tuning in. Appreciate everybody on Twitch coming over and stopping by. Appreciate everybody on Pantheon Radio, as always, that comes by, listens in. Whether you're out traveling or you're able to sit down at a computer, Pantheon Radio is always a solid choice. So, again, I like to give these guys a shout out. I always try my best to give these guys a shout out. They do a fantastic job, and I will continue to make sure that everyone is aware that we are not only on Twitch, I'm not only putting this on YouTube, but we do stream this live via Pantheon Radio. So if you're out, and you can't get on Twitch, if you're out and you can't watch YouTube and you want to listen to something live, you just want to, put some earbuds in and go do a walk, go do anything you would like, but you would like to listen to something Pantheon related, then definitely check out pantheonradio.com. You can either go download it on your iOS or your Android. They've got the apps out there, guys. You can go check it out on your by a web browser. I mean, it's there. It's available. So check it out. And for anybody that's not aware, we do this same show, or we are now doing this same show every single Sunday to end the week. It's kind of a weekly wrap up. We're going to go over things that happened during the week, things that were said, just any Pantheon news related things that we can come about. And so this week was an exciting week for me. It was really probably one of the most exciting weeks that I've had when it comes to Pantheon. And I got the opportunity, as many of you know, to step into Pantheon and to stream it. And I got to tell you, I never really got a chance to go over what that experience was like. And I got to say, it's one of those deals where at first I was so just overtaken by being in the game, by actually getting to get into Pantheon and play and stream it. Just the whole moment itself was just, it blew me away. And I kind of, at the end of it, I didn't really have, my thoughts collected. I didn't really have myself together. So I just kind of wrapped it up and said, wow, this was an amazing experience. Let me go ahead and jump off here. And I tuned into Baz and Nick and the VOT guys and listened to some of their aftermath conversations. And I thought it would be a really good topic for me to kind of go over a little bit about the experience. And I asked for some questions, and I got some really good questions from the community. And I also was out there reading some comments and some things, and I wanted to help shed some light on some things from my perspective. And so hopefully we can do that tonight. So we're going to take a little time to do that, and hopefully everybody enjoys that. But let's start out with this one question I had. So I asked on Discord, and I asked some of the guys, I said, hey, if you have any questions, let me know. And I had a question here, and basically it was an individual. They're asking, look, I want the honest opinion of how the game felt and played. What you like, what you didn't like, what still needs work, things like that. And that's a really, that's a basic question, but it's something that you don't hear a lot. And at least I don't. I always hear people asking specific questions. Oh, what was it like for this specific ability? Is this specific ability in? Are you able to do this one task? Are you able to do this one are you able to harvest? Are you able to craft? They're always very specific in their questions. You hear a lot of times, at least what I see, is not just the general, hey, was it fun? It's more about the, hey, what is in the game? Like, is this in the game? Is this in the game? Is this in the game? And I always found that interesting. So for this question, I really appreciate it. I appreciate someone that just basically says, look, I want just someone's honest opinion of how the game felt, what it felt like to actually play Pantheon. And guys, I got to tell you, I've been following Pantheon now for 2 years, and I have been dedicated to reading the forums, to watching the streams, to just digging through all the information that I can. I've been looking forward to this particular week for 2 years now. And I can say, even at its early state, the hope that I have or have had in the past was only enhanced. It was only reignited, if you will. The future that I see for myself in playing Pantheon only became brighter. And in reality, I can't express in words this kind of I usually refer to it as a childlike excitement. And it's tough for me to say it any other way, but I look back at my childhood in MMOs and I look back at what I enjoyed the most about them and just the fun that I had, just the pure fun that I had. And I got that same feeling when I was in the game this week. I got that same feeling of I'm not really here. I guess the best way I can put it is I was there and I was just looking for having fun. And that's something I haven't done in a long time in a game. I don't know about you all, but I haven't done it in a long time in a game. It's always objective driven in my mind. I'm always in a game and I'm objective driven. I need to accomplish this, I need to accomplish that, I need to get this done, I need to do this as fast as I possibly can. And after the stream, we only had an hour, but after the stream, I was sitting there thinking, and I couldn't sleep that night, and I was like, man, I know for a fact we could have taken that group and set up there on the rooftop and just kind of held down a little camp spot for a good 2 to 3 hours. And we would have we figured out some things going on with the classes and abilities and things like that a little bit more, a little bit better as we went through. But just the amount of fun that I was having with those guys, and I mean, these are not guys that I talk to on an everyday basis. You have to understand that. I do have communications with many of them on a daily basis. However, it's usually very short. We're all very community driven, so we're all trying to welcome the newest member into the community. We're all trying to make sure that we're out there doing our best to just be a part of the community. So it's not like we're just all huddled in a small group and we communicate like that on a regular basis. But I had an absolute blast. I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better group. And I could just see myself, and I kept thinking about it all night long. I was like, I can just see myself sitting up here and just finding a camp spot and just having, Baz run out and pull things, or, me on my subpar paladin play run out and try to grab things and pull them back to the team. And just, I mean, I could see just having a good time doing that for hours on end. And so for the first time, I believe, for me at least, it kind of confirmed that was something that I could actually see myself doing in the game. And I don't know about you, but I really get excited about the fact that a game has some sort of lasting impression on me after so many years and so many games. I can't tell you how many games I've been in where I play for a few hours and I'm already going, do I even want to go back? And that was the complete opposite feeling that I had. I felt like there was just so much that I had the opportunity to learn in such a short amount of time, and yet there was just so much that I didn't. So I was just, I mean, itching to get back at it. So when that time comes, you better believe I'm gonna be ready. But I will say that was inspiring. That was something that I wasn't quite expecting. That feeling, that I got, and honest opinion, it's probably one of the most enjoyable nights of playing a game in a long time that I've had. I mean, I play with personal friends all the time. We play a variety of different games. We have a tremendous amount of fun. But to be able to jump in there with well, really not quite strangers, but pretty close. I mean, I've never played with these guys before. So to be able to jump into a game, try to learn it on the fly, and basically pull together a group of other individuals and just have so much fun, it gives me such high hope for what we will continue to see as Pantheon grows and expands. I just, like I said, I walked away from the experience wanting just to be back in it because of the people that I was with, because the game itself, it had me. I mean, if you all watch me play other games, you'll notice when I play other games, I can watch the chat and play the game at the same time because I'm not really that invested in the game. I didn't look at chat one time while playing the game. I did not at any point in time look at chat. And that was something I went back and I was like, wow, I can't believe I played the game for an hour. I've been streaming for 5 years. I played a game for an hour, and it's the first game that I've ever played in my entire life while streaming where I have just completely lost track that I'm streaming and that chat's even there. I I forgot you. I forgot I was streaming. I, I was so wrapped up in the game and having so much fun. I forgot I was streaming. So that was something that I kind of came out of it, and I felt bad for one. I saw so many great questions in chat while I was, going back through the recording. But I've never done that before. I've never had a game just take a hold of me and pull me in so much that I forgot to look at chat. So again, a surprise for me. That was something I wasn't expecting. So yeah, honest feedback, honest opinion. How I felt about the game. It was everything I wanted and more. I mean, I couldn't have anticipated the game being what it was so early, and I couldn't have anticipated my reaction and my willingness, my want to go back into it, being this strong any more than it is. I mean, I could not have prepared myself for this. I really couldn't, and so I'm itching. I'm looking forward to having another shot, guys. But again, what did I like? What did I not? Well, I will say, so we had a short time beforehand. One of the feedback for the previous streams was, they weren't even set up. They didn't know what they were doing, things like that. Well, they gave us a little bit of time, just a few minutes beforehand to kind of get in there and look over some things and, do a small little smidge of I guess you could say, testing. So, we had a few minutes and we got in there and we got to play around with some things just real quick, just to kind of make sure that we weren't jumping in blindfolded. And get everything set up so that when we got it, ability to go live, we were able to get in there and just go for it. And so that was really, really good. I thought that was probably the way they should do these for the future. For other people that get the chance to do that, I really think that helped out tremendously. It took away a little bit of the nerves. I mean, you got to think, we're getting to play this game after so many years. We've had so many, we've been watching people stream this game. We've been reading about it. We've been studying it. Every single one of us has done either a podcast, some sort of stream type thing, to where we were all very, very aware of the game and all the different things that were in it based off past streams. But really, we'd never been like that. So getting in there and putting our feet actually into Terminus and seeing how it felt and things like that, something of something new for us. So, giving that little bit of a warm up was great. I think that's something I'm hopeful that's something we'll see in the future for other people that get a chance to get in there and do something. And then what I didn't like. So, at first, we'll open up. So what I didn't like. Man, that's tough. I've been thinking about this one for a while now. This question was posted at 7 tonight. What I didn't like. And I've tried. I've really dug into this one because I don't want to just be the guy that goes up there, blowing the horns of saving grace for MMOs. But I didn't have anything that stood out to me that I didn't like. And that's weird. That's weird coming from me playing a paladin. I'm not a tank by trade. But as I said before, the game sucked me in so hard, trying to learn everything so quickly, trying to get everything, my mind around everything, the mechanics, the different mobs, what they might be doing or might not, trying to pay attention to all the little details. And then being out of my element with the role, I was so wrapped up in the game and I was so focused on just trying to make sure that I didn't completely mess things up for the group that I didn't really find anything that I didn't like. I mean, I had such a good time playing and just experiencing what I experienced that I look back on it and I don't think of one single thing that I personally just didn't like. I will say there was one thing I could see there could be a possible improvement in the future with, some optimization, and I saw feedback on FPS and things like that. And at certain points, I could definitely tell that there were some spots that maybe like a flame or something was causing something as I was running by, but that was something that I would personally have expected to be a lot worse. So again, while I was in the game and experiencing it and playing it on my screen, the game looked fantastic. It felt fantastic. Even when I go back and look at the stream, I realize, okay, the stream doesn't really show exactly what I felt like I was seeing, if that makes sense. And I know that, that might not be the same for everybody, but for me, when I'm watching the stream, I look at the quality that I saw on the stream for me was probably about, I would say, it was degraded compared to what I was seeing on my screen. We'll put it that way. There can definitely be slight improvements for that, but while you're in the game, you don't really notice it. When I'm watching the game, when I'm sitting there and I'm just analyzing it after the fact, then yeah, I can see some like maybe a stutter here or there, something like that, and I can realize, oh, that could be improved. But that's also, you got to take into account, I'm streaming on my PC, um, and I've got all this stuff, going on, running and things like that, to where it's coming through. Not only it has to come through Twitch, but then it has to, I have to stream it out, and then it goes to Twitch and all that. And it was one of those deals where, as I was watching the stream and as I recall back on what I saw, it was, I don't know what if I can put a percentage on it, but I guess it was like 30-40% better, it felt like, when I was playing the game than when I was watching on the stream. So if anybody has questions on that, don't go purely off of what you see on the stream. Not just for mine, but for any of the guys, any of them that you see. Be aware that the game on your PC while you're playing looks a ton better than what it does on the stream. So if you like what you see on the stream, just imagine what you're going to see when you actually get into the game. I'm just so everyone out there is aware, streaming is not going to give you that perfect view. Sometimes some of those guys can really give you something that's very close, but I think when you actually see it on your screen and you're there, the game is going to really, really stand out. I mean, they have the graphics are amazing. I loved being in the world. Like I said, it felt good. It felt really good while I was playing. So going back and looking at it, what I didn't like, I can definitely tell by watching the stream, whether it's Twitch or whether it's my my settings on my stream. There was definitely times where it got a little bit out of focus, it seemed. There was maybe some FPS, but I'm not sure that was so much the game as it was maybe just coming through my stream. So, be aware of that as well. And then again, I look back and I can't tell you enough, guys, about how I can't think of anything that stood out to me as being like I didn't like. So I thought about that one for a long time, but I apologize. I just don't have anything for you. So I'm gonna go through. I got a few more, and then I'm gonna read some from chat here in Twitch. So bear with me, guys. I'm trying to get through a few here, and I'm gonna make these a little bit shorter. I wanted to have that overall experience. That was really hard for me to put into words. It was very difficult because it was one of those once in a lifetime experiences. I look back at it and it's almost a blur. It went by so fast, but I can tell you just the happiness, the joy, the feeling of there's so much more for me to learn. There's so much more for me to absorb, and it was one of those deals where I was a little bit afraid that once I got in there and got my hands on the game, it might not feel as good as I was hoping by watching and reading all the information I have, and it was just so much better. It was so much better than what I expected. So we'll definitely, continue to give feedback and things on that. If I get a chance to do it again, I'll definitely let you know, the comparison between the last time I was able to do it and the next time. But until then, we'll go off what we have. So we have a few more questions. So I'll go through these really quickly. Did I get a chance to explore the zone anymore? No, we stayed within our area. Like I said, we had a very short amount of time to kind of get ready, so we stayed within our area. I didn't go do anything crazy. And I didn't get to do the whole vest run as he did after the stream or something like that. So, no, but we stayed in our area. And then, will we have any Phippy graffiti anywhere in the? You know what? I'll ask, but I don't know if I'm gonna have the answer to that one just yet. So let's go to a few more things. So we had quite a few people that wanted to talk specifics about the game, and I got to play the Paladin for the first time, which was I can't tell you what that meant to me. Being able to play not only the game for the first time, stream it, but also do kind of a class reveal for everybody and get to show the Paladin. Wow. I can't thank VR enough for that. It was tremendous that they allowed me to do that, and I cannot thank them enough. I will say, so for me, I'm not a tank by trade, but I do know how to tank. I'm not I'm not a rookie when it comes to tanking in this sense. Um, yeah, sure, I'm not an experienced tank like many others out there, but I'm definitely not new to the concept. I understand, and thought process going through and looking through my abilities and spells. Basically, what my thought process was we had a Dire Lord, we have a Paladin, we have a Cleric, we have an Enchanter, we have a Wizard and a Ranger. So the Wizard and Ranger DPS, I assume that both of those are going to be fairly good. I'm really not worried about DPS all that much. We have a Dire Lord who's also, I'm assuming, going to help with DPS, and I was trying to main tank. So, and then we have an Enchanter who I assume is going to lock mobs down via Mez. So, our Enchanter was Nick. Nick did an amazing job and was very, equipped for the job. And so for me, I'm looking at myself. I have a Cleric. We have one healer for the group, and we have myself as a Paladin who provides small heals based off what I was seeing, but has a pretty good. I have like an Arc of the Light heal, and then I have an AoE heal, which requires a Reckoning point. So I was looking at, how do I generate Wrath, and how do I get a Reckoning point so that I can use my heal as much as possible to help out with the Cleric. So my thought process going into this, kind of assuming, not knowing, but assuming what I was going to do was, I have two taunts on the Paladin. I have a AoE taunt and I have a single target taunt. And the AoE taunt actually does some sort of damage as well, so it does break mezzes. And then my single target taunt, it seems very short, and it doesn't seem to pull a lot of aggro, which I'm assuming is, we're early in the game, so that's going to be something that is adjusted or fixed or whatnot. But just my assumption as a support player in general is we're going to need some additional healing in the group to help out with the clear kills and things of that nature. So my focus, the way I lined my abilities up was I wanted to use, I have two abilities. I have a DPS ability, which actually does additional DPS if they're stunned, it appeared. And then I have a small heal, and both of those give me Wrath. So as I'm in as I'm in combat, I can generate Wrath off that. And then I have a heal ability, which I think healed me and then bounced around to a few other people. I think it was like Arc of the Light or something of that nature. And that ability I was able to generate a Reckoning point with. So I said, okay, great. So what I'll do is I'll use these two abilities to do damage and healing, small amounts of healing as much as I can. I'll focus on my single target taunt, and hopefully my heals will help generate enough aggro to keep that mob really invested and focused on me. So if I use my taunt, a little DPS, a little heal, and then use a heal that hits me and then bounces through the other team, and then follow that up with an AoE heal, which is what I did quite often, then I'll be able to help out with healing of the group, but I'll also be able to help save some of the cleric's mana, and I'll potentially, hopefully the idea was because I have that single target taunt, be able to hold aggro. And it appeared it didn't quite work out that way, and I don't know if it was intended. It might be, or if it's just one of those deals where some tuning has to come in, but that's fine. I could not hold aggro. I mean, no matter how hard I tried. So I went back and I looked at the abilities again, and I think if I were to do it again, I would probably try to use my stuns and DPS more, and maybe try to focus on pulling mobs off to the side a little bit more if I could, to hopefully use my AoE taunt with my single target taunt, and maybe the two of those doubled up would really generate enough aggro to pull off mobs. Not only that, I think if I was using, I had a stun ability which gave like a 50% stun or chance to stun I think it was a chance to stun for 50% of the time, but it was an AE. It was like a frontal cone ability. Again, knowing we had limited healing and we have an enchanter for mezzes, I was afraid to use a lot of my AE abilities because I didn't want to break mezz. So, if I had to go back and do it again, I would really try to utilize those AoE abilities better. And I know it was tight quarters, there was a lot of, moving about. We were getting the feel of each other as a team, as a group, but also I was trying to learn the class on the fly. And it just seemed safer not to use the AoE abilities to hopefully avoid breaking mezzes and things of that nature. I didn't know how well they were going to hold up and things of that. So trying to make sure that I'm helping the group out in that sense. I'm helping out with heals. I'm helping out with taunting or tanking as much as I can without disrupting the mez and CC that we have as well. So if I had to do it again, I would probably try to utilize that AE abilities, those those area effect abilities, a little bit better. And I think if I was able to do that by utilizing the AOE or the area taunt, as well as my single target taunt, combine that with my stuns, I had a few of them, and then putting some damage out, I would assume that would probably hold aggro a lot better. Now that's an assumption. I don't know. And I don't know if that's the way it's intended. And I thought about that a lot. I was like, okay, I'm thinking about what I would do differently, going back and review this. Well, does that quite make sense to me? And I'll be honest with you, I kind of think it does. I think maybe, the single target taunt can be ramped up a little bit so that healing can be somewhat viable. Like if I'm doing AoE healing, I would think maybe that would generate a little more. But I think that the fact that DPS might do a little more as far as generation of aggro makes sense, because what I noticed was a lot of the mobs seem to do a lot of upfront damage, so the healer had to really put some heals out very early. And I think if you don't have a way to pull aggro onto yourself, if the healer is pulling too much aggro from heals, which is kind of what I was trying to do as a paladin, then that could be a bad thing. And my heals were not anything near what the clerics were, I don't believe. So I haven't got a chance to go back and look, but I think when I go back and look at Hives, I think his healing was much greater. So I believe if healing pulled as much aggro as I was kind of anticipating it would, that might cause some problems for healers. So again, I'm not sure if that's intended, but I would definitely love to see that fleshed out. I mean, that's something, again, I'm excited to get back in because I want to learn that stuff. I want to test that out. Oh, does that work? Does this work? And that's the type of stuff that I kept thinking about. Oh, what would I do differently? And does that make sense? So yeah, I think that for me, going into it and looking back, yeah, there's a few things that I would try differently. But overall, my thought process I thought was actually pretty good. Really wanted to help the healer out with some heals. I really wanted to try to utilize or not utilize AoE abilities as much as possible because I didn't want to break mezzes. And I thought that was going to be a very basic strategy. It seemed like it was really easy for Lex to pull aggro off of me. And, one of those deals where I wasn't upset about it at all. I tried to main tank the best I could. He did me a favor and he saved the day by, making sure that he had aggro if I didn't. And it really seemed like I was struggling to keep it. So, I can't thank him enough for helping out with that. But he was definitely trying to allow me to main tank as the paladin, showing it off. And that was fun. I had a blast trying to learn that on the fly. And again, that was a lot to try to process and a lot to try to put into action just on the fly as we're going through it. So very excited about that. But I think overall, I think that the performance of the team and the way the Paladin felt was spot on. At no point in time did I feel like I wasn't contributing to the fight. Even though maybe I didn't hold aggro, I felt like even my small heals, my AoE heal, and just the damage that I was doing a little bit at a time, or the stun that I would, I was trying to line up at a appropriate time. I felt like I had the ability, I had the tools to really make an impact, and that's something that I want to see every time I get into a game. I can't stand that I can get into a game and I can feel like I'm not having an impact. But I felt like at no point in time I felt like I had the opportunity to provide and make an impact at all times. So there's no point in time where I felt like I was just kind of worthless, if you want to say it that way. I always felt like I had an opportunity to do something, to be, top of my, or to up my game, to get better at something, or I had the opportunity to do something that made a difference for the team as a whole. So, for me overall, I think when it comes to the aggro and things like that, guys, I'm not worried about that at all. There's probably a lot for me to learn on the fly there that I didn't quite catch on to, which is fine. There's a lot of assumptions made on my part, which like I said, I'm not making excuses for. I'm just letting you know my thought process of going into it, what it looked like for me, and what I expected. And for me, like I said, I felt like I was contributing at all times, whether it looked like that or not. I still felt it, and that's a good feeling as a player. So for me, I think that that's a really, really positive outlook for anybody looking into the game, for anybody that's curious about how that aspect of it went. Know that, you know, you felt like you had to do something, you had to be a part of the team, you were contributing at all times. That was something I'm very excited about. So, going through a few of the other comments and things of that nature, let's see here. What do we have? Um, oh, here's one. Yeah, I was actually pretty disappointed with the Paladin streamer. Come on, man. I'm a human being. No, I'm playing. Um, I read some really good ones. And guys, I love a good roast. And I gotta tell you, I appreciate the honest feedback that I saw some people give. This community is amazing. They're awesome. And some of you were very honest and very critical, and I loved it. I personally, if I didn't think it might get too far or get carried away too much, I was gonna put out kind of an advertisement to really give me a good roast on Twitter, but I decided to go against it. So with that being said, there were a few comments that I read out here, and I gotta say we laughed about it during the stream. And I saw this comment. This is actually on Reddit because you always find the best comments on Reddit. But I read this comment and I was like, man, that's so funny. During the stream, if you remember, we're on the balcony, and I think it was Yarn who mentioned, oh man, at least we haven't seen anybody say, I can't wait to see a real group try this. I actually read this on Reddit where we had that comment, which was lovely. I loved it. But basically, it's one of those deals where people looked at us and said, "Oh, they're a bunch of streamers. They don't know what they're doing, guys." This is, Yarn has been playing MMOs for years, and Lex, as well as Martini, as well as Baz, as well as Nick, as well as myself. We're not new to the idea, new to the concept. We were able to get in there and I think very quickly pick up on what we need to do and how we need to go about it. And, I know it may not have looked like it was too awfully difficult, but I gotta tell you, I'd love to see other people get the chance to do it as well, because we've seen groups wipe on rats and random stuff, and we've seen other things happen where um, it looked a lot more difficult at times. And I gotta tell you, it really really matters about the players that you have in the group. I felt like Martini and Baz were doing a fantastic job on DPS. It's one of those things where it's kind of some of the roles you can really see when you're watching. You can really see some of the roles stand out, and you can really see them make a huge impact because of what they're able to do just class wise. But some of the other roles don't feel like they make, at least when you're watching, they don't look like they're making as big of an impact. But I gotta tell you, I personally think that changing any one of those players out with anybody else, I think it would have been a huge difference and would have been noticeable. And I didn't need a DPS meter, I didn't need an aggro meter, I didn't need a heal meter, I didn't need any of that to know that when I was playing, I could tell the people in my group knew what they were doing. And that was an encouraging feeling. I didn't feel at any point in time that anybody's slacking. And after playing, if you go back and play, P99 or some old school EverQuest the best you can, if you go back and you try to play these games where they don't really have a lot of those tools, those add-ons on there, where you're watching the numbers, then you have to play off feel, what it feels like, what it actually, when you're in the game, when you're actually there with the team, what that feeling you get, whether somebody's pulling their weight or not. And I tell you, at no point in time did I ever feel like there was not a single person that wasn't doing all they could do in the best way possible. I didn't need analytics. I didn't need a meter to tell me what was happening. I could feel that we were taking down mobs and content, and we were doing it at a way to where it didn't feel too stressful. We had ourselves under control. That was the key. We were under control most of the time, and so again, I felt very good about the group, and I think that it would probably be one of those deals where if we changed any one of them out, it would definitely be, it'd definitely be a noticeable thing. Um, but hold on a second, guys. Hey, so for anybody else, so Kid, I apologize for that. I'll explain here in a minute, buddy. But while we're on Pantheon Radio, I'm gonna hold off on explaining that for a minute. So so as we continue to go forward, let's go through some of the other comments that I had and talked about. And let's see here. So again, aggro was the really big thing that we talked about. Like I said, the group did fantastic. The game felt amazing. It looked amazing on my PC. Whether the stream gave it justice or not, whether the quality that I was able to put out gave it justice or not, the game just looked amazing. I don't really see a lot of additional comments, a lot of additional questions. Um, so let me go to the chat here. Let me go to the chat here. So here we go. Let's see what we got here. Did you feel in the world? Did your tune feel like it was responsive to the terrain, etc.? Yeah, actually, that's a really good question. Did I feel like I was actually there? A lot of people do role play. A lot of people like to try to, I don't know, get really immersed in the game. I gotta tell you, I didn't notice any huge things. Like I didn't feel like I was sliding across the ground. I didn't feel like my movement was off. I felt very comfortable. I felt very just. It felt normal. It felt like it should, in my opinion. So I really didn't have. I guess I didn't really pay attention to it all that much because there was nothing that stood out to me. And I guess I'm one of them people that if character movement and feel doesn't feel right, I'm very quick to notice it. But for me, the overall general movement and style felt very natural. It just kind of it felt right, if that makes sense. So yeah, it was a good feeling. I definitely enjoyed um, what I was able to see there and things like that. So have no complaints with the movement style. I think that like I said, it flowed. Everything was smooth. Never had any issue. Never noticed any issue while moving. Well, actually, yeah, there was one time I was walking up the spiral stairs, and I think I got kind of hung a little bit, which kind of threw me off. But other than that, it was one of those things where like I got hung, and then maybe had to slide to the right or something to go up. But it was probably just something with like the stairs. Maybe they just need to edit that or something. I don't know. But other than that, like just in general, the movement felt great. Let's see here. So, anything else? If I missed anything, guys, go ahead and repeat the question. I apologize. I tried to keep up as I was talking through the experience in general, but if I missed anything, please let me know. Let's see. Um, yeah. So, overall, let's see. Overall, what did you think about playing? Hold on. Overall, did you think? I don't know why I cannot read right now. Overall, what did you think about the feel of playing the Paladin? As in, did it feel like it fit well with the class? And I don't know why I cannot read right now. Like those words appear to be jumbled. Anyways, I apologize. um, Let me go ahead and break that down in my mind here. So, how did it feel to play the Paladin, and did it feel right? Yeah, I mean, I think I tried to cover that. I don't know if you were here in the first part of the podcast or stream, and I appreciate the question. But definitely, like I said, I felt like at all times I had something I could do to benefit the team. I felt like I was always useful. I felt like I was a little kind of, I guess you could say, I was a little bit unsure about. Okay, I feel like I should be pulling more aggro, but I'm not. And is it me or is it something that needs to be looked at? And I'll take fault for it. I don't know, maybe there's something that needs to be looked at, but I'll take fault for it and just say it's probably me. With the abilities that I use, the way that I use them, things like that, there was definitely other abilities I even had, and I don't think there's nearly all the abilities in yet. I think there was kind of just a fresh slate of a couple abilities thrown in there for us to play around with, but the Paladin felt great. And I'm not a tank player, but I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun on it. So I'm very hopeful for anybody that's looking to play Paladin. I'm very optimistic that you're going to get in there and love what you see, what it feels like, and just the abilities, the skill sets, and the fact that it wasn't a cakewalk. I couldn't just walk up to a mob, hit taunt, and just walk away and never worry about breaking aggro. I mean, aggro was being broke left, right, and sideways, and it wasn't just me, it wasn't just Lex. I mean, there was, different times where DPS was pulling it. There was times when, Mez broke and it was hard for us to pull that mob off the enchant. Like, it was challenging. It was fun. So definitely, I think that the Paladin feel overall was great. And I can't. I mean, if this is a foundation, wow, I'm excited to see where this goes. Um, how do you feel about the concept of all the classes being able to solo efficiently? Um, I would say that that probably won't be a thing in my opinion. I think in like you said in EQ there were some classes that had a really hard time soloing, the warrior, cleric, etc. I think that there's probably going to be some classes that may struggle with soloing as well. And it's not like they're focusing on just making it very difficult for them. They may have some skill sets that allow them to do it a little bit better than they were able to in the past, but overall, I felt like if I was not in a group, I don't know if I would have had the DPS that I really wanted or should have to be able to do that effectively. And um, so I wanted to be in a group. I wanted to have others there to help out with those certain areas that I was lacking. I had heals, yes, but I mean those mobs hit hard, and I don't know if my heals just as a single, if I was soloing or trying to, I don't think my heals would have been able to keep up just on my own. So, for me, I think that soloing is going to be a challenge. I don't think soloing in a dungeon like that will be a very good idea for anybody. Maybe like outside in AVP or something, maybe there's some mob types out there, some, animals running around, some wolves, some bats or something that are higher level that may be easier when it comes to soloing. But as far as being in a dungeon goes, I definitely felt like this was not a place for me to be solo ever. I never felt comfortable at any point in time that I could just go out and just solo something. That's a hard question for me to answer because really I was in a dungeon the entire experience, and with a group, I felt like I needed that group. Anything that was blue to me felt like a challenge if I was gonna try to solo it. So I can't give a lot of feedback on that as far as the stream goes, but I can tell you I definitely would not like to go into BRK solo myself. Um, when I was typing, I had a bunch. Oh, so it wasn't just me. No, it probably was me when I was reading. They will be tuning aggro and threat till launch. Oh no, you know what, guys? Like I said, I'm not here to make excuses. Aggro and things like that, that's probably going to be tuned, not even just to launch, but past launch. I see, all of that stuff. Just it's constant. It's constant tuning, and I'm sure that it'll come to a point where somebody will get in there that knows the paladin inside and out, and just they're able to take it to the next level. And I'm excited to see that. I can't wait to see that. For me, my original thought when just reading the abilities and not really, having that time to experience them, but to just reading them, my assumptions there may not have been the best. So again, yeah, I think that tuning will continue on even past launch, but it'll be at a state, maybe in alpha, beta. I would assume that they get to a state where it feels right, and then they'll continue to tweak here and there based off of new things that come out, different play styles that emerge. People are going to find ways to make the game, work for them the best they can. So definitely, I thought you guys did pretty good overall. I don't want to say, but I did read a tweet by Brad. I don't know if y'all read this, and so just want to kind of make a point about this. I read a tweet that Brad asked, "Did the devs do it better, or did we do it better?" And I gotta say, guys, no offense to the devs, but the majority of the votes came in. The verdict was pretty overwhelming. So, I'm not saying, and maybe they just didn't see what they saw. Maybe Nick's performance was just so inspiring that what they saw from us made us look better, but so by the way, anybody listening on Pantheon Radio, one of our good friends here come in and post the question, so I had to throw some shade over his way. But no, VR does a tremendous job, and the devs do fantastic. I love watching them stream, and the information they provide is fantastic for us. For us, it was all about fun. It was about fun, about learning what we could, experiencing what we could, and just the overall sure joy of being able to get out there and give it our all to do what we could in the amount of time we were given. So again, I can't thank VR for the opportunity enough. But let's see if there's anything else here. Any other questions anyone has? Like I said, I'm just trying to give you all the open door here that I didn't after the stream this week. So I appreciate everybody listening in, over the radio. But everybody here on Twitch, you are more than welcome to ask any questions. I'll answer them best I can. And I don't have all the answers. What you saw on stream is what I know and what I experienced. So I can basically just kind of give you my thought process of what went down and how it went down and how it felt. And that's about as far as I can take it. I mean, I really don't have anything else besides that. One of the questions that I did get, and I'll go to this one real quick. One of the statements I saw was the race that we mentioned, the thought process of, oh, there's another team over there. We got to hurry up and beat them to the name mob. I will say this. In a typical game, I probably wouldn't do that. I would probably play it more safe than anything. I would take my time making sure that we're going to get over there. Like, I'm a competitive person, and I absolutely would want to be the first one to get to that mob, especially if it's like a rare spawn. I would absolutely want to be the first one to get to that mob. Don't get me wrong. But knowing how difficult the blues, yellows, and oranges that we saw were as we were going up to that mob, when I saw that he was red, probably would have been much more hesitant to pull that mob in a typical setting. I can see myself maybe setting up camp there, like on one of the edges, on one of the ledges there where the ravens spawned, because they seem to be a little bit lower level, easier to kill, but there were some other mobs around the area which were a little bit higher level, a little bit harder. And I think sitting up there would have been fairly safe to pull to that area, that little like octagon, little circle area of the platform. Pulling to there would have been pretty safe, and then I would have been able to maybe get a level or two, and then hopefully once we saw that red con at the edge, the one that we defeated last, the name mob, once we saw that turn like orange or something, I would have felt a little more comfortable attempting. But it was one of those deals where we had an hour and we were going to give it all we had and just see what happened. I did see something as well where someone mentioned something about the death, how we respawn with like all our gear. I think that's just a testing thing. So I wouldn't be too concerned about that. I think that's something they did for testing purposes. Maybe they did it for us to help us out. I don't know. They assumed we were going to die a lot, so they were like, maybe not everyone wants to see us do corpse runs the entire time, which I would appreciate. But again, whether it's whatever it was for, I think that was just a testing type thing. So I wouldn't expect that to be what you see in result. Again, I saw someone mention that, and I just want to kind of bring that one up real quick. Let's see, but it looks like I have a question here about the global cooldowns. How do they feel? It did look a little fast on stream. So global cooldown is interesting. I saw global cooldown on, I think, a few abilities, but overall, it really didn't seem like it had a global cooldown quite on everything. Seemed like most abilities had their own cooldowns, and I don't know if that's. I mean, it felt good. Like I never had a problem. I know there's a certain time or two where I didn't catch how much wrath I had, or I didn't catch the reckoning points that I had. And because of that, I was trying to hit, like, I think it was my AoE heal. So I was trying to use my AoE heal, but I didn't have a reckoning point. I had Wrath, but I didn't use any ability to generate a reckoning point. So because of that, I was like spamming an ability or trying to, and I was getting nothing. I think that one was the only time that I noticed anything with the cooldowns, and that was simply because I was like, why is this not working? And I had to realize, oh, I have to look. Okay, this requires a reckoning point. Oh, I don't have one. Go figure. So as far as like global cooldowns or something like that, yeah, I mean, I've played EQ, I've played WoW, and I've played both somewhat recently, for me, it didn't feel out of the ordinary. It felt normal. It felt like it should, if that makes sense. So I never. I mean, it's one of those things. Maybe I could look at if I went back and did it again. Maybe I would pay attention to it more. But just getting in there and just going at it, it just felt normal. It just felt like it should. And then let's see here. So it looks like they're going towards the EQ system in regards of inventory. In other words, general inventory um, that can take place at bags, opposed to okay. So there, yeah, I don't think they have dedicated bag slots. I think they have just your inventory slots, and then you can put bags in there, and then those bags have additional slots with them and things like that. I'm not sure if I mean I would assume that that's probably what it would be like. It seems I mean to me that makes sense. But maybe in other games they've had just slots for dedicated bag slots or something like that where you couldn't put an item. And if that's the case, is that how WoW does it? I think WoW does it that way, where they have bag slots and then you have to have additional bags in those slots to get additional slots or something like that. Regardless, though, I mean, I didn't pay much attention to it. As you notice, I didn't loot a lot. I think Baz was our designated looter, not by anybody's decision besides his own. But yeah, so it's something that I didn't really pay attention to all that much. I wasn't really focused on the loot as much as I was just getting in there and having fun and trying to kill as much as I could. Let's see. One thing I really liked when I was watching the group playing was talking back and forth about mezzing, off tanking, needing to med. That was awesome. Yeah, well, I'll tell you this. Like I said, I was completely wrapped up in all of that. I could not uh, pay attention to the chat via the stream because I simply had to be looking at, okay, where the mob's at. I didn't know. I was trying to figure it out as we went. I had to be paying attention to, who has mana. I'm a support player by trade, so paying attention to health bars and mana and resources and things like that, I'm usually very much on top of it. Trying to tank as well was completely different for me, and I was trying to make sure that if anything came in, like walked in our path, or we had mobs that were roaming, I was watching for those and stuff like that. So, it was man, it was a lot. It was a lot, and I was very in tune with what was going on as far as each one of the mezzes that were going off. You were able to see them very clearly. They had like this ball glowing in front of them, which was very distinguished at least in my mind. When every time I saw a mob, I could tell it was mezz or not very quickly, which was nice. And then the buffs and debuffs and things were right underneath the actual target. It was really easy to kind of see what was happening. I could see if a mez broke, I could see like, a dot on it. And I could tell them, hey, there's a dot on that. You're not going to be able to mez it. Stuff like that. I mean, but it also meant that I didn't just, like, the UI made it so that I could see that pretty easily, but it didn't give it like in this overabundant way. It didn't make it just cartoony or really crazy looking. It was kind of discreet at times, but it was also right there in front of your face. So it wasn't something that unless you were like if you were looking for it, you could see it easily right there. But if you weren't really just focused on that particular bar above their head, it was something that it didn't distract you from the game. I guess that's what I'm getting at. It didn't take away from the game experience or distract you from seeing the actual overall picture of what was going on. So I'm asking the time it takes. Oh, the time it takes to use a different ability right after another. It was pretty quick. A lot of the abilities really didn't have a cooldown on them. They were pretty quick, and because the paladin generates wrath, seemed fairly easy. I was able to use abilities pretty often, and so I was able to use like 3 abilities as you saw, pretty much on rotation. 2 of them generate wrath, and one was my single target taunt, and I was able to use that single target taunt on cooldown. No issues. I was able to generate wrath pretty quickly with those other 2 abilities, and then I was able to use my other healing abilities pretty quickly after that as well. And it did seem when I got hit that I generated more wrath, so I could see a paladin really being able to turn through some abilities fairly quickly, and maybe that's the intent, especially with those AoE abilities, like maybe positioning and tanking and taking that wrath and really putting out some additional abilities very quickly so that you can get some damage, some stuns, and some healing out is what it's intended for. I just maybe wasn't able to master that in the short amount of time that I had. But yeah, it felt good. I mean, like I said, it was quick. I was able to really to get through it, and maybe when you get additional abilities in there, there were some in there that were very powerful. I had like a 5 second stun for single target that was very powerful, very good. So that was nice. And then so again, I'm gonna wrap up the podcast for Pantheon Radio, guys. I'm gonna wrap it up on this final note, but I'm gonna stick around on Twitch here. I'm gonna answer a few more questions for everybody, but I want to wrap up the podcast on Pantheon Radio here. So um, for everybody listening on Pantheon Radio, I just want you to know I'm reading a lot of these Twitch comments. I'm reading a lot of the things on the forums, Reddit, and things like that about the community stream. And I wanted to end on this note tonight. First and foremost, one, I can't thank VR enough for allowing us to get in there and try, Pantheon out. We've been doing, every single one of us has been doing something for the community at some degree, and just trying our hardest to help promote this great community we have, help promote the game that it looks amazing, and after being in it for the short amount of time that I have, it feels amazing as well. I'm very, very, very hopeful, very optimistic. I can't tell you how much that I'm looking forward to just being able to play this game on a nightly basis. But even so, I can't thank VR enough for just taking the opportunity, the chance with us to get in there and allowing us to do what we do, just have fun. So that was completely just, it was something they didn't have to do. We don't, I don't get millions of views. I don't have millions of subscribers. I have, I consider myself a small influence on the community, but I love this community and I do everything I can to help promote it. And the community feedback that we received overall was tremendously positive, and I can't thank you all enough. You know, I'm hoping that what we were able to show is that yes, the game is going to continue to grow and develop and become what we all expect and want it to be. But I can tell you, as of right now, this game is at a place where I feel like I could jump in and play on a nightly basis and still have fun. And if I did that same content every night, I mean, sure, it might get a little repetitive, but man, that was such an experience. It was so much fun. And I can just say that I'm looking forward to seeing them grow. If I can get that, maybe not the same location, the same exact mobs, but if I can get that same feel of coordinating effort with with the group, the social aspect. I mean, I was having so much fun just with the team, getting to know them, getting to play with them, things like that. And that's what I miss in a game. And I think that really, it just highlighted they're going in the right direction. They're doing things the right way. So for everybody listening, just know that this this experience that I've had over the last week has done nothing but just confirm all of my, praise that I give the team, all the hopes that I give, the team, as far as like all the good vibes for doing what they're doing and continuing to do what they're doing, because everything I see on the other streams, everything I read about is what I want it to be. And then the experience that I had over the last week was exactly what I wanted. It was what I wanted and more. So I can't tell you how good it feels to see a community support us. We had some criticism. I had some criticism, and guys, I don't take anything personally. I love it. I love that the community is honest. They're open. They're giving feedback. They're giving, constructive criticism, not only to myself as a player, but to what they see on the streams and things like that. That's only going to help us, get to where we want to be. So the overall support and love and just general good, good hospitality, good vibes that you all give is amazing. So for us, it was one of those deals where I hope what I see come out of this is not that you all know how to play the Paladin now. I don't really, I don't expect anybody to know how to play the Paladin based off of what I did. But I'm hoping that it shows that the game is at a point where we can bring some more community members in to showcase it in the future. That's what I'm hopeful for. I'm hopeful that what we were able to show is that people loved watching other people have fun, and hopefully that opens the doors for other content creators, other community members that have been contributing, that have been supporting Pantheon for years, just like we have, to get in here and showcase the game themselves. I would love to see those doors kind of open up a little bit more over time. And I know it's not going to be a quick thing, but I'm hopeful that what our stream showed and the support that the community gave, the feedback that the community gave, will help VR come to a determination or a conclusion of, is the game at a point where we can start to bring in some additional, members of the community to do things like this in the future as well. And so that's what I'm hoping for. That's the one thing that I want to come out of this more than anything, is that, hopefully that door will open up a little bit more in the future, and we can see some others get in there and give it a go, because I think there's some other ones that are deserving just as we are. And I can't thank VR enough, and I'm hopeful that they invite me back to maybe play a different class and or get some redemption on the Paladin or something in the future. But man, it was an experience that I'll never forget. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and shut down Pantheon Radio. For everybody on Twitch, if you hang out with me for just a few more minutes, I'll stay on for another 15-20 minutes, and we'll talk a little bit more. I've got just a few things I want to answer in Twitch before I get off here. But everybody on Pantheon Radio, you all have a good night, and we will catch you next time. Thank you. All right, so we went ahead and let Pantheon Radio go, and I normally don't do this too much because I put the recording out there, and for everybody that's listening to this might be like something that shows up on the Pantheon like rebroadcast. But I'm not trying to cut them off or hide anything. I just wanted to take some time to answer the questions because I feel like you all are here and I appreciate your support. So let me try to finish up with these questions real quick. Could there be plenty of fights that are... So I'll just say this. Could be plenty of fights that require two tanks. Oh, okay, let me go up to what you have here, Jackson Force. You spoke of having trouble keeping aggro over Lex. Do you think that is how the class is designed? The Dire Lords are better at generating aggro? No. Like I said, I think tuning, tweaking, things like that will be continuous. I think it was probably me assuming that certain abilities generate more aggro than they do, and I have no doubt that in my mind, come down the road, all the tanks will be viable at that degree. Now some may be more equipped and better, but I mean overall I think you would probably see more of a ping pong action if two tanks were taunting like we were taunting in the future. You would see a lot more of a ping pong action instead of a one tank just dominating aggro over the other. And there may be certain abilities and certain skill sets that one tank has more than another, like the Dire Lord generating more aggro over time. It may be towards the end of a fight, it's very hard to pull that aggro off of them. They may generate, it may just compound on itself, and that may be something that's very useful in the future. But then again, I look at the abilities I had on the Paladin, and their AoE taunt abilities seem to be very strong. Like if I was using AoE taunt, like if we didn't have an enchanter to mez, mobs, and I had to do AoE taunt and stuff, I could see that being very, very useful for a Paladin and very strong even. So maybe where Paladin might lack a little in single target focus, maybe they excel in multi-target focus, like, having to tank two mobs at a time, having to pull a herd of mobs that are coming at you, something like that. I don't know. We'll have to see. Like I said, I had a very limited amount of time, so I didn't get to test out all the abilities and all the skill sets, and we didn't really get to do a lot of comparisons on that type of stuff. And it's not like I had an aggro meter where I could see how much aggro I was generating and not. So it's one of those things where you'd have to test it and really kind of get a feel for it and learn, what the limitations are and things like that. And I love that idea. I love that concept. It means that no one's going to be able to just jump in and be perfect at a class. And that's, I like that. I like that. It means that you're able to see time and effort put into a class really through just watching somebody play. So again, I don't think there's any question or concern with me when it comes to aggro and tanks and stuff like that. I think you'll see that balance come down the line. Anything else here before we're done for the night? Memory blur and communication will allow you to switch. Potentially. I don't know if Nick had a mem blur ability. I don't know. I don't know if the enchanter had that. So, but yeah, like I said, guys, I had a limited exposure, limited time, and I was able to get in there, and like I said, it just felt right. You're able to pick up on it. You're able to pick up on, I believe, what you need to pick up on very quickly. And I will say, oh, one thing I meant to mention was the focus on the offensive target versus defensive target felt amazing. I love that. I love that. That was so good in my opinion. Being able to select an offensive target and leave my defensive target as myself or as Lex or as as Nick, to help out with healing, something like that. I love that. That was, man, I cannot wait to try that on a healer because I think that'll be amazing to be able to use an offensive defensive targeting system like that. I did think the devs wanted to remain neutral on the third party ad. Yeah, I think they do too. I don't think we'll see third party add ons myself. So I don't think you're going to see a damage meter. I don't think you're going to see an aggro meter, things like that. I think that'll be something you experience and learn as you grow in the game, as you understand your class and the other classes and how, they generate aggro, what really generates more aggro than others, and things like that. And like I said, I love that. I love that it's not something you can just jump into and buy a character at max level and just automatically, based off of a meter that you have in front of you, know exactly where you are at all times. And if you're not hitting what you should expect to hit, like if I'm not hitting 900 DPS, then if I'm hitting 890 DPS, I'm not hitting 900, then I truly think that in a game like WoW, for example, I would be like, oh, I'm doing something wrong, but let me go check that out and read up on that forum and find out why I'm not getting that 10 extra DPS. Well, in Pantheon, I feel like that's something where, I might not be as concerned about it. It might be more, am I doing well enough to contribute to my team? Do I feel like I'm contributing to my team? And, you're going to play with one player and you're going to play with another. And let's say somebody plays with me and I do 800 DPS, and somebody plays with Nick and he has 900 DPS. We'll say we both play Wizards. So one night I play with them, we do some content. The next night Nick plays with them, they do some content. And then maybe I go back and play with them again, and they go, hey man, we're playing with Nick the other day, and his DPS seemed to be a little bit better. Maybe there's a certain ability or two that you're not utilizing that you could more. Or maybe there's like something that you're doing that, he seemed to have mana left and was still able to do really good DPS. It felt like really we were able to get mobs down very quickly. But with your mana seems to be a lot lower and you're not getting these mobs down as quick. Maybe there's something that you need to adjust. And then me as a player go, oh, okay, well, I'm not taking it offensively. Well, let me see if I can learn. Let me see if I can figure that out. How is he doing it? And maybe that sparks a conversation between me and Nick, and I go, hey, Nick, I'm using this ability and this ability and this ability. What are you doing differently? And maybe Nick's going, oh, well, I'm doing the rotation backwards. And yeah, and so like you said, what if it's gear? Well, yeah, maybe Nick goes, well, yeah, but I have this gear and I have like this stat. Let's say I have 20 intelligence and you have 16. So you need to go look to maybe get another piece of gear. And maybe Nick goes, hey, I found this gear in this dungeon and I think this would be really beneficial for you. And hey, guess what? That's a journey for me. Okay, I'm going to take myself over to that dungeon, find a group, and maybe use those abilities in a different order so I can conserve some mana, push out some good DPS, something like that. But I'm also going to look for that additional item that maybe will really help with my mana as well as my DPS or something like that. So again, I like that idea. I like that it's not something that's just going to be simple. I'm going to look up online. I like the fact that I might have to actually talk to somebody in the community and go, man, when you're in our group, things seem to go a lot better. So let's see what we can do about that. Thanks, Convo. I appreciate it, buddy. Hey, keep up the great work, Convo. Y'all are doing an amazing job. Wow. I can't thank y'all enough. So 50 of 50, we invite him back. I'm gonna hold you to that. I'm gonna hold you to that. Thanks for the answers and stream chatter. Just like, yeah, I mean, I love this community. I think it's a fantastic community, and I can't wait to see more of the community you know, get the chance to get in there and test out and do what we did as well. Let's see, game design will also be less dependent on rotations and pure DPS, not to mention with what looks like a severe DPS pool. Yeah, I'll say it like this. I think this is something I noticed in WoW, and it's something. Oh, by the way, Hypercrush, if you're still here, buddy, thank you so much for the sub. I don't mention those things while I'm live on the radio, but I can't thank you enough for that. Appreciate that. So Hypercrush Games, thank you so much for the sub. I appreciate that. Matt, thanks for the 100 spot, buddy. We'll have to get into a game here in a minute. I'm about done. And here's the thing that I will say about this. I felt severe DPS deficiency. Okay, yeah. So here's what I noticed. Here's what it felt like to me. It felt like sustainability matters much more than, I guess you could say, how much DPS you're doing or not doing. Like if I go into the ramparts again and I get into a group and we're able to burn through a mob super quick, awesome. But how can we handle, or how do we manage multiple mobs? Can we? Like maybe I can get into another group, we don't burn through mobs quick at all, but we can handle like 4 mobs at a time because of the group makeup. So when I'm looking at the groups and things like that, I'm not really as concerned about the amount of DPS they're doing. I'm not really nearly as concerned about you know, all of the factors. I'm more concerned about sustainability. Will my group be able to consistently keep moving forward? You know, are we going to have to sit and have a lot of downtime? You know, maybe we're able to burn through mobs really quickly, but afterwards we have a ton of downtime. Maybe we can't handle more than 1 mob at a time. Like we have a great single target comp, but anything past that we struggle on. And then maybe we have a comp that's really efficient and you were able to handle 2-3 mobs no problem, and we're able to get them down in a reasonable amount of time. It's not the fastest thing in the world, but we're definitely not slow. Mana's being conserved. We're able to have a sustained rate to where as long as we're pulling 1 to 3 mobs, then we're able to just continuously keep going, just keep churning, keep grinding. And maybe we have a group that's great when it comes to that, but then not so great when it comes to the boss fight. And then all of a sudden we have one of those things where maybe it's one of those deals where our group is fantastic at the boss fight, but the general grind of it is not so great. Like I said, they're a great single target group. So when they got to that boss fight, man, they were money. They could take that thing down and no problem. But in the general grind, the level grind and things like that, maybe the group struggles with sustainability or struggles with just consistent pulls and things like that. So I don't know. I don't think the DPS output, the healing output, the tanking, like the CC, all of this really, what it comes down to is, as a group, do you feel functional? Do you feel like you're actually able to do what you need to do? Do you feel like are going at the pace you need to go at? Do you feel like the group is strong or weak based off of just playing the game? Not based off of a meter, not based off of some statistic or stat or metric, but just the feel of the game. Are you having a good time, and does it feel like it's going at a good pace? That was what I really kind of got the feel of when I looked at the group, when I looked at how everything felt. I felt like we had a really good group. I feel like we had a really good comp to sustain for a very long time. So to me, like I said, it felt great. The game looks fun and looks amazing. It looked even better on my screen. I'll tell you that. I'm not trying to rub it in too much, but it was great. um, but yeah, guys, like I said, I'm gonna kind of call it on that note. Man, what a week! What a week! Thank you all so much. You mentioned, did I ever play? I'm assuming, do I still play? Okay. Do I still play ESO? No, I don't. The reason I don't play ESO is because after getting power leveled up to max level, I don't know. The game style did not capture my interest. After playing it for a few days, a few weeks even, maybe at most, just the game style overall really didn't pull me in. Um, and I guess, like Vex said, being power leveled really kind of took the feel and vibe and just the struggle out of it. But Vex did tell me don't power level, and I didn't take his advice. Somebody power leveled me up, and it really just kind of took away the game from me. But overall, the way the game plays, the experience that I got from it, it wasn't bad. It just it didn't pull me in. So I've not really played it, and work's been kind of crazy around here too. So I've not really had a lot of time to play mini games at all. So it is one of those things. But I never understood how people power leveling think it's a good idea. Yeah, I agree. It's not. It's if you've done it once, getting some help on the second time around or third time around, yeah, maybe. But yeah, you should have tried more PvP. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I tried PvP that one time and I still didn't really didn't get a good grasp on it. And again, I love community games, and I had a great time with Cyrilus and a few of the guys that played with me. But yeah, it's not bad. Just wasn't something that drew me in. Yeah, well, I won't get too big on the power leveling. Like I said, I'm gonna shut it down here quickly. But I will say this: for power leveling, for me, coming into a new game, power leveling I think really destroys a lot of it. But yeah, yeah, I would not recommend power leveling to anybody that's coming into a game fresh. I would recommend take your time, learn the game from the ground up. And some games you don't like WoW right now, you don't need to power level in WoW. WoW allows you to pretty much power level through the first half of it by yourself. Um, the way that they designed it, leveling is not difficult in WoW. So, taking that little bit of extra time to experience that is nice. And then games like if you're playing, old school games like P99 or EverQuest or something like that, taking time to level up. And EverQuest Live's a little different. You have like mercenaries and stuff like that. It's weird in my opinion, but it's still the experience of leveling is one that I think everyone needs to go through at least once. And it's just it makes you feel like you've earned something in the game. And I think that's something that a lot of people miss nowadays. They buy characters that are max level, or they get into a game and it's easy to pretty much power level off based off a YouTube video. You can go do power leveling yourself from like 1 to 50, 60, 70, 80, 100, whatever, in the matter of like 2 or 3 days. And again, I think leveling is really an experience in a game that every game that I've had to take the time to level in, I've spent more time in, and I've enjoyed it more. But every game that I've been able to get into and someone helped me out and got me quickly geared up, or I jumped into a game and people just gave me stuff, man, if you don't feel like you earned it, if you don't feel like you really struggled for it, if you don't feel like you've really had to put in any time or effort, that commitment to the game is lacking, in my opinion, for you as an individual. And that's something that I don't like to see. So I agree with most people here. If you're new to a game, avoid power leveling. I know it's tough at times, but avoid it. Just try to play the game the way it was meant to be played, um, and enjoy it. So I'd rather level than power level. Know how to play the class, got the experience how to play, and feels rewarding. Absolutely, absolutely. So okay. So on that note, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and look to call it a night. I am, and I appreciate all of you. I can't thank you enough. Um, the support in the community is tremendous. I cannot wait to see other people get into Pantheon and get their hands on it and trying it out. I think I think it's going to be nothing but what you've heard from what I've said tonight times 10, which is people are going to get in there and realize they're doing it right. I don't know how else to say it. They're creating the game that we want. It feels great. It looked great. I had a blast. I can't thank them enough, and I can't thank you all enough. the support that you have and things like that is it's just it's amazing. So yeah, kid, yeah, I got you, buddy. And yeah, man, it's like I said, I'm speechless. This week has been amazing. This week has been just it's it's one I won't forget for a very long time. So thank you all. Have a good night, and hopefully we will be on sometime this week to play some games and hang out and talk some more. Until then, later, guys.